Manchester United 3, Tottenham Hotspur 4. Oh, it's a funny old sport. Tactical overloads literally everywhere, but also individual errors all over the pitch. And apparently, no goalkeepers. What a weird old football match. What actually happened in this game? Well, I'm going to tell you that today, but first of all, you guys, I think, need to subscribe to the channel. We recently hit 45,000 subscribers. The challenge now is 46,000 by the end of the year. So if you could subscribe, that would be amazing. Be greatly appreciated. And then once you've done that, we'll get into the video. Okay, so now that some of you legends have subscribed to the channel, it's time to get into the tactics and talk about and try and figure out really what we saw on the football pitch last night, because it was pure chaos at times. We're going to focus mainly on Manchester United in possession on the ball, because I think Ruben Amorim had us tactically set up really well, and at the same time I think Postecoglou made an absolute mess of it from a defensive point of view, which is weird because Manchester United lost this game. An odd one. Anyway, Tottenham Hotspur looking to press with three players high up the pitch: Kulusevski, Solanke and Heung-min Son. The problem was, from a Spurs point of view, they lacked intensity when pressing. They lacked cohesion in their press. There was moments where Son would go and press, but no one was really with him, or Solanke would press, but the wingers weren't there. It was a little bit disjointed in the way that they pressed, and it meant that Manchester United had moments where we could move the ball through the first phase. And the really important thing here is, despite not really ever being successful with the press, Spurs continue to do it. They continue to have these three positioned relatively high. Now, the reason this is so important is because it does mean that their midfield can be a little bit more isolated. And we can see that they've got three central midfielders: Maddison, Sarr and Bissouma. Three very nice footballers, big fan of all of these guys, played really well. But there's only three of them. And Manchester United, we know, in this system, tend to get four players into this position. In this game, Ugarte, Christian Eriksen, Antony and Bruno Fernandes. So we have four players in this area up against three. So straight away, United have a tactical overload. We have an area of the pitch where we should be able to dominate. And I think there's a really simple way of looking at this. Let's say Lindelof has the ball, and Spurs have their three-man midfield, and they decide to try and pick up a player each, which they often look to do in this game. Let's say for now, the double pivot are going to stay deep on Bruno Fernandes and Antony. You know, they're going to try and protect their back line. This means that Maddison in the middle is left with two players. And quite physically, he is in a position where he cannot press two players. So Lindelof, particularly with Solanke being a little bit slack at times, Lindelof can move the ball into Ugarte or Eriksen, because Maddison can't actually get over and fully cover either of them. Now, Postecoglou is actually very aware of this. He's not an idiot. He knows that Maddison can't cover two players, so what he will sometimes do is get Sarr to go a little bit higher into this position onto Ugarte, meaning that now Manchester United don't have that free ball into this area. Well done, Postecoglou. Good reaction. The problem is he's now got another problem, because now he's only got one pivot. Only got one player protecting the back four. He's got centre-backs that don't want to step out into midfield, and therefore poor old Bissouma is again 1 versus 2, with Bruno Fernandes and Antony either side of him. And when you've got technical players like Lisandro Martinez, Lenny Yoro, you can find the spare man in these positions. There were also some nice rotations from United where Antony would peel a little bit wider and Mazraoui would move into this space. And in those moments, I thought that Yoro in particular had some moments of great disguise moving the ball through the lines. I'm really tempted to do a video on his performance, because despite conceding 4 and in my opinion making an error for one of the goals, I think overall he had a really good game. So let me know if you want that video. But the key is, United have 4 players in this position, and it happened all night long throughout the match. We can see here Spurs only have 3 surrounding the referee. Looks kind of cool. But I've only got 3 players in this position, and the problem is they physically can't match up. Manchester United have got 4 in these areas, which means that you can pull these players about. Eriksen is literally unmarked in the centre circle. In the centre circle, completely unmarked. Dalot moves the ball inside into him. Eriksen turns the ball around the corner. We are now in a fantastic position. What an area of the pitch to be in, and it's because we overloaded the midfield. Good work from Ruben Amorim, and also on that occasion, the technical ability of the players was good. Again, 3 Spurs midfielders with the ref popping up in the middle again. But anyway, 3 Spurs midfielders causes a problem for them. They've got 2 here who tried to go a little bit higher. They tried to go to Ugarte and Eriksen. But now if we look at Bissouma, he's in no man's. What's he meant to do there? He can't get close to Bruno Fernandes, but also Mazraoui, who has inverted on this occasion, has so much room. There's not really a lot that he can do about this. It's really difficult for him, really difficult, and it means that the ball can be moved forward to Bruno Fernandes in this position, but also just look how much room Mazraoui has. It's good ball progression from Manchester United, and this just kept happening. Again, Spurs try and squeeze with their 2 higher midfielders. Lenny Yoro does some really nice ball manipulation work. You can see right over there, right at the top, that is Bissouma on Bruno Fernandes. it means that Mazraoui, who once again has inverted into midfield, has so much time and space. Yoro does well to manipulate Son, moves the ball forward into Mazraoui. What a position to be in. And again, we played a switch on this occasion out to a left-hand side. It's great. It's really good ball progression work from Manchester United. We've got another example. And honestly, there were more. We could have kept going on this. Again, the two midfielders drawn a little bit higher. Basuma on Bruno Fernandes over there. Mazraoui has tucked inside the pitch. All the time in the world to receive the ball. And eventually, Antony switches out to the far side. And that is the next thing we need to talk about. That switch out to the far side. Because that was the other overload that we had in this game. Now, this particular overload is all about the last line. Tottenham Hotspur always defend with 4 across the back. In this game, it's Spence, Gray, Dragerson and Porro. Manchester United are attacking with 5. I don't have to do the maths for you. 5 is a bigger number than 4. Manchester United have more players in this position. Now, what this means is that as United try and move the ball, there's going to be a spare man somewhere. 9 times out of 10, it's going to be on the far side of the pitch. Let's say, for example, Antony is rotated wide and he picks up the ball. Spence wants to come across and be aggressive. Mazraoui makes an underlapping run into the final third. Gray comes across. Højlund makes a movement in the middle. The centre-back has to deal with him. Bruno Fernandes is also going to attack the back post. Porro is drawn in. That means Dalot is free, right? Particularly when we consider that Spurs still have this high front 3 and that midfielders are being outnumbered as well, the second that Bruno drops. United had this all day long. I've lost the ball. Where is it? United had this all day long. The ability to get the ball out to Diogo Dalot on the left-hand side. The amount of times that we utilised this overload was insane. And the real effect of this was this. Porro could be drawn out of position. You see, he's caught between 2 areas here. If he goes close to Dalot, Bruno Fernandes gets in behind. If he sits on Bruno Fernandes, Dalot's got the room. This was the big problem that he had. Again, Porro was simply 1v2. This was Ruben Amorim getting one up on Postecoglou. In terms of the tactical setup, we got into so many good positions. You can see it here. Dalot drags Porro all the way out, and Bruno Fernandes can go into that space. And we saw this, again, so many times in this match, moving into these areas behind the Tottenham Hotspur back line. Again, you see it here. Porro has 2 players. He's picking up Bruno Fernandes, but look how much room Dalot has out on the other side of the pitch. And eventually we sort of cycle the ball round that side. You can see as Dalot drops deep, Porro comes towards him. Bruno Fernandes is going to make the run in behind. We don't play it on this occasion. We actually cycle the ball backwards. We come back to this side of the pitch, but the overload is still on. Porro is still 1 versus 2. Lenny Yoro goes for the long ball over the top, and eventually it drops here. This is a really good position to be in. Rasmus Højlund sort of has a snapshot which goes wide, but again, this is a great area. We're 4v4 in the final third here. In terms of an opportunity, we're in a great part of the pitch. And again, this just kept happening. Again, 1 versus 2 on the far side. Bruno Fernandes draws Porro inside the pitch. Dalot goes round on the overlap. Mazraoui plays a really good ball with his left foot on the long switch out to the other side. Dalot draws a defender. Porro comes out towards him. Bruno Fernandes darts in behind. Wing back to inside forward. In behind the defence. And again, that is such a good position to be in. Bruno Fernandes plays the ball across the box. Rasmus Højlund doesn't quite get there in the middle. I don't think his sharpness, his movement was quite right last night. He didn't quite look on it. Perhaps fatigued. But regardless, tactically, Manchester United moved the ball forward so well in this game. It's just in the final third, we lacked that detail. So what did we learn there? Tactically, it looks good. We've got overloads in important parts, which makes it easier for the players to progress the ball. When it then comes down to a bit more individual quality in the final third, we lack it a little bit. Also, defensively, errors. Now, for me, there were errors on all 4 goals, and it's incredibly frustrating because Manchester United conceded 4 goals from less than 1 XG for Spurs. What are you meant to do about that? What can you do as Ruben Amorim when that is happening? Now, granted, it happens because at times, we spoke about this yesterday, Ruben Amorim's shape can be a little bit passive. It does mean that the opposition are going to get moments where they can come onto you. But, as we said yesterday, even in those moments, United tend to be strong and compact as a team. However, when you make individual errors, all of that work goes out the window. Now, we're not even going to focus on the first and the 4th goal today because Bayindir makes a bit of a meal of the first one, doesn't deal with it particularly well, and the 4th one, I think he's fouled, but I also think he should be stronger. But those are goalkeeping errors. There's also errors on the other 2 goals though, which perhaps aren't being highlighted as much. Starts off with this one. Manchester United have the back 5, and this is what I'm talking about. We may have been passive, Spurs may have moved the ball forward fairly easily, but we're still compact here. There's still a lot of players back. The midfield is close enough that they can affect the play, but individually, I think all 3 centre-backs make a mistake, which isn't ideal. And this is how it happens. It starts off with Lenny Yoro and Mazraoui. In my opinion, just too close to each other. Yoro gets too tight to Mazraoui. They almost treat it as though there's only one of them there. but there's two of them. And the reason this is a problem is because Maddison, I believe it is going to go around on the overlap. Euro just has to drop. He has to drop and just give himself that yard to deal with that overlapping run. But he doesn't until it's too late. He reacts far too late. And you can see here, he's just not there. He should have dropped so much quicker. He didn't need to be this tight to Mazraoui. He should have dropped off. So that is error number one. But he's a young centre-back. He hasn't played much football at all. We're going to allow him, right? We're going to allow it. Because I think he had a really good game. Again, let me know if you want that video. The next error comes from this man here, unfortunately. Johnny Evans. Didn't have a great game coming on from the bench. Again, he hasn't played too much football, so perhaps we can forgive him. But this one's really basic. This is really basic. When you are the middle centre-back and you come across to defend at the near post, that's exactly what you have to do. You have to cover the near post. Anything in that area there should be yours. Any ball across that part of the box should be that of the front centre-back, the centre-back at the front post. That should be Johnny Evans' ball all day long. But you can see he's just shifted his balance to his left-hand side. He sees Kulusevski and darts that way. He should have defended the space rather than the man. He should have defended the space, but he doesn't. So that's mistake number two. And then Lisandro Martinez with just a terrible clearance. Now, I don't want to be too harsh here because, you know, I think he's off balance. He's running this way. He's just chucked a leg at it to try and get something on it. But it is terrible. It's an awful clearance. And of course, Tottenham score, and that should have been game over, I guess, but it wasn't because of the nature of this game. But this one was. This one was. And this is Lisandro Martinez, again, struggling against Solanke. Solanke makes the run in behind. And initially, Lisandro Martinez, you know, we normally associate him with aggressive front-footed defending. He chooses to be passive. He chooses to give himself a yard, which it's on occasion the right thing to do. I don't think it was the right thing to do in this particular situation, though. I think he needed to be a bit rougher with Solanke, try and force him out wide. I think that was the play. Lisandro Martinez gives him too much time, too much respect. And the problem is when you do that, you give a player too much time. Suddenly the striker is in control of what's going on here. The striker is dictating the move. And that happens. Solanke takes the touch inside, and here, Lisandro Martinez has got to be big, strong, physical, aggressive, get his body, get his arm across Solanke, do everything to disrupt him. But he doesn't exactly do that. He is walked past by Solanke, and it's in the back of the net. And Manchester United have conceded 4 goals, all from errors. Now, granted, the goals we scored were also mostly from errors as well. I'm not saying Manchester United were amazing going forward either, by the way. I just think tactically we overloaded so many parts of the pitch. We progressed the ball really well. Just in the final third, we lacked any sort of killer instinct, really, despite scoring 3. Spurs, on the other hand, had the killer instinct. Their attackers looked much better. Every time they came forward, they looked like they could score. And we made errors at the back. And ultimately, that is where the football matches are won. Tactically, you can do whatever you like. But a football match is decided in the 2 boxes. And Spurs were much better in the boxes than what United were. The goalkeepers did not have a great game. It's a very weird one. I think we learned a fair amount about this Manchester United side. I think they are improving. I think they are understanding the system better. I think the technical details are improving. But there's still errors and we need to cut those out. But in terms of today's video, we can't really focus too much on that. So we are finished there. Thank you guys very much for watching. Hope you have enjoyed it. And as always, I'll see you in the next one.